Good evening, friends. In this class, we will learn about the basics of tenses. Tenses are about telling sentences with time, with respect to time. There are broadly three tenses. What are those? Past, present, and future. Past means something that has already happened, gone by in time. Present means what is happening right now. And future is what is going to happen. What will happen in the upcoming time, in the time that is coming. Right. Now again, these three, past, present, and future, are again categorized into four different parts. Simple past, simple present, simple future, past continuous, present continuous, future continuous, past perfect, present perfect, future perfect, past perfect continuous tense, present perfect continuous tense, future perfect continuous tense. Four, these four times these three, total 12 tenses we have. Right. Broadly, these three broad tenses, past, present, and future, and the four subcategories in each of them, total 12 tenses that we have. When to use which tense is very important. In this class, we will understand broadly what are these types of 12 tenses and when to use them. Right, broadly. Then we'll get into details of each tenses, when to use simple present versus present continuous or simple past or simple future. There are some minute details also that we will take up in the upcoming sessions. But in this session, we will discuss about broadly what are these tenses are. What are these 12 tenses? For which times we use which tenses? For example, let's start with simple present. Let us start with simple present, this box. Right. Simple present is about something which is always true, be it in past, present, future. It's a habitual action or general truths. For example, he drinks tea every morning. He was drinking in the past also, he will drink in the future also. This is true all the time, not just present. In the past also it is true, in the future also it is true. So this kind of statement is called simple present statement, or this tense is simple present tense. He drinks. We call it he drinks instead of drinking or instead of drank. We are not saying he drank. He drank tea means it becomes past. Or he is drinking tea means present continuous. That will come later. Okay. In this case, he drinks tea every morning. That means it's a habitual action and it is true all the time. The sun rises in the east. Rises, not rose or rising. The sun rises in the east because it is a general truth. It is true all the time, between past, present, future. Honey is sweet. This is again a truth which is true all the time. That's why for these kind of statements we use simple present. There are other details also. We'll discuss that in little more detail in the upcoming classes. Now present continuous, which is the second one. Simple present, present continuous. Present continuous is, if you see, this green bar, which is happening at present, at the time of making the statement, which is happening at present. That is called present continuous tense. Right. She is singing. That means at the time of making that statement, she is actually singing. The boys are playing hockey. At the time of making that statement, the boys are playing. So that is why this is continuous, because the action is continuous. The action has not stopped. The action is happening at that point. That is why it is present continuous. The action is happening at the time of speaker making this statement. That is present continuous. Next, present perfect. The third one. The present perfect, where an event has happened, but the result we are feeling it now. See, event has happened, but the result is there now. The effect is there now, rather than the event. Event has happened, but the result, the effect of the event is there now. Gopi has eaten all the biscuits. That means you're telling the statements, you are using present perfect, has eaten all the biscuits. What does this mean? When you make this statement, that means there aren't any left for you. You are not happy. There are no biscuits. That's why you are saying Gopi has eaten all the biscuits. Right. The this action, that eating of biscuits, this has already happened. Right. But the result of it is now. That means at this point you don't have biscuits. Right. There is a link between the action that has happened and the result of it. The result should be in present. I have cut my finger and it is bleeding now. What does that mean? When you say, I have cut my finger, that means then this kind of statement where you will say, when you mean that it is still paining or it is still bleeding, whatever. If you say, I cut my finger, that means it becomes simple past. Simple past, that means there is no result right now. You are not worried. It's just a plain statement. I have finished my work and now I am free. I can go somewhere or I can talk to you, whatever, whatever. When you make a statement like this in present perfect tense, that means there is a follow up statement to the present perfect statement that I have finished my work and I am ready to do something. Right. In that context, use present perfect. Okay. And or there is an action which is beginning at some time and it is continuing up to the present moment. I have known him for a long time, from the past to now. We have known him. He has been ill since last week. For the last 1 week, he is ill. Right? The action, the this though it is not completed, but it has started in the past and it is still there. We have lived here for 10 years. We have seen Padida for several months. Okay, these kind of things. Now, present perfect continuous tense. The present perfect continuous, it is used for an action which has started somewhere in the past and it is still happening. Right? He has been sleeping for 5 hours. That means he started 5 hours back and he is still sleeping. They have been building the bridge for several months. That means the action is continuously happening from the past till now. They have been playing since 4 o'clock. The action is continuously happening. That is present perfect continuous tense. Right. That is present perfect continuous tense. Whereas present perfect tense is action has happened in the past and there is a result right now. And sometimes we will get little confused whether to use simple past or present perfect or present perfect continuous tense and all. You will get little doubts. So all these doubts we will clarify in our future lectures when we get some basic understanding about these tenses. We will try to understand in more detail. First, we will try to understand broadly what are all the tenses, and then we'll go one by one and try to understand them in detail, and then try to understand the differences between two different types of tenses, when to use what, when there is a confusion. Right? Simple past. Simple past means the action was done in the past. The action is already done. We are not worried about the result right now. It is just done. We are just declaring that the action is done. The steamer sailed yesterday. That's it. It is done. We are not worried about the result right now. I received his letter a week ago. Just that. It's a plain statement. I have received his letter means I'm there's a follow-up statement, something like I am reading it now, or I did not like it, something like this, or I am liking it. I am replying, giving a reply to it, something like that. I received his letter a week ago. It's a simple past statement, which means the action is done and there is no result related to present. She left school last year. Right. Again a plain statement. That means the action is completed in the past. Last year, the action is done and there is no other consequence. That is simple past. Right. Simple past. That is the simple past. Now let's go to past continuous, past perfect, and past perfect continuous. Past continuous. Past continuous is some action happening at some point, action going on at some point in the past. Okay. It is not just a finished action. It is a continuous action somewhere in the past. For example, we were watching TV all evening, let's say yesterday. That means there is a continuity. All the evening we were watching. Right. The action was continuous. That's why it is past continuous. But it happened in the past time. That's why past continuous. It was getting darker. Yes. So for some time it was getting darker. Right. The light went out while I was reading. I was reading. The light went out. When I saw him, he was playing chess. This action was happening for a while. It's not just finished. He played chess would have been simple past, but there is a continuity here. When I saw him, he was playing chess. While he was playing chess, I saw him. Right. So he started playing chess from here to here, and I saw him somewhere here. Right. That's why it is past continuous. Now past perfect tense. The third of past tense. The third one, past perfect tense. When there are two actions, let's say this is the recent and an action that is done before that. Then to differentiate between these two actions, for example, let's look at this sentence. When I reached the station, the train had started. Okay. So I reached the station is here. The train had started is here. Right. So the train actually started before I reached. I had done my exercise when hand came to see me. Hand came to see me is here, and I had done my exercise is actually here. If two actions happened in the past, which action happened earlier than the other? Okay. For example, I had written the letter before he arrived. He arrived is this action. I had written before that. Okay. So, to show the difference between two past events, the recent most event we'll write in simple past, and the one which happened before that we'll write in past, we write in past perfect. I had written the letter. I had written the letter. Before he arrived. He arrived is this point. I had written is this point. Right. When I reached the station, that is this point. The train had started, that is this point. I met him in Delhi, is this point. I had seen him 5 years before. That is this point, right? When you are talking about two statements, both in past, you will when they are related. When you want to show some linkage, you will put the first one in simple past, and the second one, the older one, in past perfect. Past perfect continuous tense. Okay, so at that means the action has started somewhere in the past and it continued. It's a continuous tense. It continued till some point. At that time, he had been writing a novel for 2 months. At that time is here. And he is saying for the last 2 months prior to that time, he was writing a novel. Right. In this case, we will use past perfect continuous tense. When Mr. Mukherjee came to the school in 1995, that is this point. Mr. Anand had already been teaching there for 5 years. That was this point. There was a continuity. This Anand was teaching for the past 5 years prior to that 1995. Right, that was a continuity. Okay, so there is a point here, and then prior to that point, there was something continuous. That is past perfect continuous tense. Right, it's simple. It's not just past continuous, it is past perfect. Past perfect means there's a point, and prior to the point, there is some continuity. Right. Anyway, we'll get into details of how to exactly differentiate between this kind of past continuous or past perfect continuous, etc., etc. Right. Now let's get into future tenses. Simple future. Simple future is about things that will happen where we cannot control. For example, it expresses the future as a fact. I shall be 20 next Saturday. I cannot stop it. Right. I will become 20. Right. It is not in my control. That's why it will be in future tense. It will be Diwali in a week. I cannot stop the calendar. I cannot stop time. Right? It will be Diwali. That's why it is in simple future tense. We will know our exam results in May. I cannot stop it. They will anyway declare the results. These kind of statements will make in simple future. Future continuous. Future continuous, that means they are continuous in future. There is a continuity. But these are future. I suppose it will be raining when we start. We'll start somewhere here. Around that time, there will be rain. That is what we are saying. It's a future thing, but it's a continuous thing. This time tomorrow, I'll be sitting on the beach in Singapore. This time tomorrow is this part. I'll be sitting. That means I'll be sitting before that also, after that also. There's a continuity there. Can I see you at 5 o'clock? Please don't come then. I'll be watching the tennis match on TV. I'll be watching from here to here. This might be, this could be 5 o'clock. Right. So there is a continuity. There is some continuous action in future. That's what is future continuous. Future perfect. Future perfect is to talk about action that will be completed by a certain future time. This is a future time. This is a time. Right. I shall have written my exercise by then. In fact, it should be something like this. Okay. This is a future time. The red line is a future time. Right. And I shall have written my exercise. By this time, I'll be completing this one. This is writing exercise and this is a time. Right. By then. But both are future. This is a future time and the action will be completed by that future time. That's why it is called future perfect tense. He will have left before you go to see him. You go to see him is this red line. He leaving is this green dot, green circle. Right. Future perfect tense means an action that will be completed by a certain future time. Right. There's a future time and there's an action which should be completed before that time. Right. That is called future perfect tense. You will have left before you go to see him. You go to see him is this red line. He will have left is this green circle. By the end of this month, I will have worked here for 5 years. The end of this month is this red line, and my work is this green circle. Right. By the end of this month, I will have worked here. I will have finished 5 years. Right. Future perfect continuous tense. The final of the 12 tenses. Future, this is used for action which is in progress, which will be in progress over a period of time that will end in future. Okay, the end is in future, but it is in progress for a period of time. By next March, we shall have been living here for 4 years. There's a continuity, right? By this next March, 4 years will be completed, right? So probably this fellow must be living from the time of the statement, making that statement, or even before. Right. There is a continuity here. That's why it is continuous tense. But there is a specific time also. Like in future perfect, there is this red line, right? Here also there is this, there is that specific time, right? By next March, right? That specific time, there is a continuity and that will end by that time. That is future perfect continuous tense. I will have been teaching for 20 years next July. Next July is this point, and there's a continuity, and this person is continuously teaching till this point. That is future perfect continuous tense. This tense is not so frequently used. Okay, future perfect or future perfect continuous tenses, these are not so frequently used. The most important tenses that we should clearly understand will be simple present, these four, all present four tenses: simple present, present continuous, present perfect continuous, right? And simple past, past continuous, and simple future, right? These are all, these 4 plus 2 plus 1, these are very frequently used and these are really important. After that comes past perfect continuous, and future continuous, or the ones that we will pick later. Right. And these two, future perfect and perfect continuous, these are the least used. Right. Hope you understood the basics of these tenses. We will get into details with more examples and more exercises on which tense to use when. Thank you guys. All the best. Bye bye.